Okay. Hi, and welcome to part two of my story and journey through depression, mental health issues, and how I faced them, how I cope with them, and also somewhat about the transformation. So, here in part two, we're going to go much more into uh, how I started to actually work with myself, right? So, basically, in the first story, or the part one of this video series here, I explain how my experience of my mental health issues and how that got me depressed, how it got me into difficulties in my relationships, difficulties in my career as a poker player at the time, but also on the sideline. Had much difficulty also handling, especially emotions. So the mindset back then, if I want to share that with you here, was pretty much I was always right, they were always wrong, and I was not open to acknowledge when things was not working out, how to look in with myself and to do anything about it. There was just something wrong with the world then, you know? so so pretty much that was the mindset that I had at the time, and it helped to smoke some weed to relieve myself of the fear that maybe there was something else going on. So yeah, I got the cap on now because this is the time uh, I'm staying. So just to rewind a little bit of the story, right now I'm staying in a place, an apartment that I've been given. I just broke off my career as a poker player. I simply just got broke financially, and also there's a mm, there's an addiction with weed smoking a bit. Still doing my training, but not having a job, not having anything, but just an apartment and a girlfriend. So that's where we're at. Let's look into what is how I faced some of my mental health issues. So I was actually in the best relationship of my life. I mean, with a very wonderful girl. And I promised myself I'm going to do my best to make this relationship work. I'm going to do my best to uh, create I had a beautiful vision of that relationship, what it could turn into, and how we could do that. So I start to get inspired, but I also know, wait, there's something in me that is not working out in a way. So So pretty much what's going on is that I got away from the old apartment into the new and with a new relationship, and we start to work together the best we can, her and I start to embrace my journey of sharing my inspiration for helping out people who also was broken down and how to restart. I stopped going to parties and drinking and such. That suddenly started to fade out. Socially, also, I started to also fade that out a bit. Uh, Reasons we can talk about, we can only guess at it, but that's what happened. The weed smoking started to be a little bit every day, um, but it stopped actually to have an effect. And also problems started to rise a little bit financially, obviously, when you're not earning that much money and so on. But you know, we got it going, and we started to be financially more responsible and found a way to actually stabilize that part. But you see, again, my emotional stability was again in a relationship. And so every time that my girlfriend would act out of character, which I had expected, or every time that I acted out of character, there was some blaming going on. So at one point in time, I decided, you know what? I want peace. Peace is a value for me that I want. And I don't see anywhere on the universities that you can actually learn how to acquire peace. So what was brought to me, and YouTube, yes, was available at the time, and Facebook just started actually around this time. It's about 2009-ish, 10-ish, 2009, 2010. So that decision was like a soul call to me. I want peace. That's what I want. And so when I decided to actually go for that, first I was introduced to yoga, I was introduced to meditation, I was introduced to something I've never even recognized before, and that is we have different kinds of bodies, in a sense. We have a physical body, you can see it with your physical eyes. Basically, that's what you can see right now in this video. You have a image representation of me. Then you hear my voice. That helps you to actually gain some sense of the frequency that I'm in right now, but you won't feel my energy. My energy, my presence, and what's going on in this room where I'm at, you won't have a sense of that. Not on this video here. But I found out through practices and meditation that, oh, I have an energy body. And that energy body I had not connected with since I was a child, and happy, genuinely happy. So that was like the start of my transformation. And I got, but it's not going to cover the root cause yet. The root cause will come later in this story here, because this is basically, this was very terrifying actually, what's going to happen now. So me and my girlfriend, we enjoy a lot, we learn a lot together. This video is not going to be so much about her, but we were both learning a lot about ourselves. We were curious of how things works out, and that was the foundation of this relationship pretty much. Of course, there was also a lot of love. In a sense, I didn't know actually what love was at the time, not in the same sense as what I see it as right now. So I got a course in my hands. Basically, after I decided to have peace of mind, I want peace, I got a course. And that was a course in miracles. And you can check out that book if you want to. I don't recommend that. I see there's much faster ways at present at this time. It's a 1326 pages book, which has 3 elements in it. It has the terminology. That means it's the story and the way they speak in the book, so you can understand the second part, which is one daily mind training practice that you do 1 day a year. No, you do it 365 days a year, so it's 365 days practices. And I got that book, and first I was like rejecting it, and it was not for me. Then it was given to me again, and I started, okay, along with my yoga, along with my meditation, along with, I also fasted, but not at that time yet, yeah. So that book was given me, I started studying. And the premises of the book is very simple, and that actually, it woke up something in my mind when I read that. That is that everything that is real can never be threatened, and everything that is unreal is an illusion. Hence the reminder, the elusive hat. So what does that really mean? That means if you can grasp what I just said on your highest level of understanding, that means that fear, worry, that means that there's no reason ever to doubt, because what you are is real, and what you are is real, and real can never be threatened, and illusions are not real. So nothing can threaten you. Now there's a lot of understanding and practices that was needed for me at the time to grasp this. And that book started that journey for me. It did not succeed in revealing that wisdom to me, but it was a Kickstarter, a 1-year Kickstarter. So I started actually reading this book, and I started to get new ways of looking at life, new ways of looking at the body here, and that this body is really not real, in a sense that it's not needed for my peace, it's not needed for my expression or as a living being. Okay, so bear in mind, you don't have to believe me, it's just, it's mind training. So I started doing that, and I figured out that, oh, if I keep a vision in mind, then that vision starts to happen. I speak it, and then suddenly some of our friends, they had a house. So, okay, that sounds like a great place, more peaceful. At the time, in that apartment we were staying, was actually a party street in a big town called Aalborg in Denmark. And they were partying like 24/7. I remember it very clearly. I loved Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. after the big truck cleaning everything up after people had gone past. They would be quiet. Okay. So, doing a Course in Miracles, the course, started to actually embrace some of my abilities to, hey, I can access a vision, I can decide where I want to go. So I started that, and I started also teaching it, and that's actually way too early, but I started just expressing what I'm reading and getting some feedback from people, and all people were very, they were suspicious of this kind of knowledge here. But okay, started implementing in my life, and started also to work a lot with my own energy, and one essential part of the course is forgiveness. So I started actually to practice forgiveness as it's taught in the course. But something was missing. So okay, what happens here is, how can I explain that? So my relationship pretty much started to act itself out in the way my poker did. So I would be very emotionally invested in my relationship, but I would also find stability in my emotions in that relationship. That means if something in the relationship was off, I felt completely without any grounds to do anything on my own. So there was a codependence from me that developed over time, that I gave responsibility to someone for my emotions. Perhaps it was also sent it back, but that's not the case here. We just want to share my story. So maybe it was not. But at least it was that for me, and I can see that's why I reacted so strongly sometimes, because I felt threatened, right? You know, even though I was studying a course about that, I felt threatened, and it took time. So after a year, I developed much more in tune with myself, started to get back on track with practices, get back on track with training, quit the weed completely, and decided to start raising a family instead and making my vision come true. I wanted to teach some of the things I'm learning in the course, but of course I loved already from way back to teach body health, nutrition, and yoga was now a big part, so I wanted to do it through yoga. So what happened is I got the possibility, or we got the possibility to move into a house way off a big city, close to the ocean. And we did that, and we started to develop our daily routines there, build up a foundation for having a company and also some work on the side until that would be possible. And we were working great together there, and then we decided to have a child with us at the time. So, and her name is Isabella Liv, and she was born in 2012, 26th of November, beautiful daughter. Uh, so things were basically going great. We had a home birth. Everything was really beautiful and great house. We, yeah, just like it's kind of a perfect image of a family, you could say, but still something was hidden. Some emotional stress was still hidden, even though I was doing practices, I was training, I was very healthy, did fasting as well, did a long fast, made me connect a lot with my intuition again, and my sense of belonging to everything, and especially gratitude. So if you're into fasting and listening to this, I can recommend study before you do any long-term fast, but try yourself out to see how would it be to be just water fasting for maybe 2 days, 3 days first. I tried it out for 7 days as a beginning. I cannot recommend that. That was a terrifying experience, but I felt great afterwards, except when I started eating again. But that's another story. So basically my mental health started to improve, but there's still something lingering, some kind of a righteousness within me that judged other people, and I improved myself in the process. So there's still comparison in order for me to feel great, because I was so out of line with everything else in my understanding of how society works. Which was, yeah, when I look back at it, it was like, wow. Anyways, when I make my mind up about something, that's the way I'm experiencing it, that's the way I see it. But there were some results that I was not getting. So, well, we worked with it. We also worked with it in a relationship. We had our daughter, and as we have our daughter, the relationship starts to change. The need for security for my girlfriend, that rose up. And I've never been a guy who actually, I thought so, that's my belief about myself, that needed that kind of security, because I've never lacked anything in my life, even though the financial situation was rebuilding slowly and there were some debts, but even though I lacked a lot of money, I was still being taken care of, always. So I never had fear of going 100% for my poker or this A Course in Miracles, want to share my vision with the world. Never had a fear of that. I thought so. But then now there was a request that was needed, and the way we communicated about that, yeah, that didn't work out. So somehow our relationship split a bit. One felt not recognized, one felt not listened to, and one felt, me at least, I felt like, hey, you're taking away my vision, you're taking away my dreams and what we started up together, and why is that? So there was a separation in pathways that happened at that time. So we struggled a bit there, and finally decided that, okay, we're gonna split up. So I had to make a decision as well at the time, because my daughter's mom, she's from Iceland, so she would like to go back to Iceland. Also, we had talked about that, maybe get a new beginning there. So she was still onto that idea and get really back in touch with her community and some support there. So I checked in with myself, what's important here for my daughter mainly, and I felt my daughter needed her mom and her well-being more than she needed. She needed to see me at that time on a regular basis, and that was my decision. So I wrote a letter that they could travel out of Denmark, the country here, and go to, because you have to do that, right? There's some rights that you have as parents, and so I wrote that letter. That was confirmed, and they traveled to Iceland, and I'm on my own now. Yeah, and thanks for listening here. I hope this is giving you something, and if not, that's okay with me too. I wanted to share that. So now I'm at a big challenge, right? Now I have to actually put all the tools that I've learned through the course, through mind training, through my own experience and wisdom, and put them into practice. How did I feel? How did I feel? If you have this is normal emotions, right? Then usually I would be like peaking a lot, going like that, peaking a lot, going like that, peaking a lot, going like that, and something would happen, and I would out of the line. I would just go into a depression mode, but no one would really see that. I would just be like pointing fingers why I feel like that, instead of accepting within myself how come that is. So there's still this ignorance or this unawareness of emotions and why we have them, and so at that time, family split, relationship split. So thank you very much for watching here. If you are ready for hearing how I transformed everything from here and into having my own business and having a course, and how I actually faced all the challenges that came after that, take a look at part 3. Much love, everyone, and just remember, you're good enough as you are, and that's for everyone. Okay? So if you ever see somebody not being good enough, look within yourself first. How would that actually have of consequences before you start judging? So that's one lesson from here. Much love. See you in part 3.